So who was there? All right, what a great room. I would like to ask everyone what your favorite show was, but hopefully you had a chance to enjoy that moment. And that's the kind of moment we try to inspire all year long. So I am Sarah Smith-Pancari. I serve as Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Summerfest. I am now, if we include when I started, I stood atop the amphitheater lawn as an usher in high school. So I feel like I have a long history with the place. Most recently, my role for 2 years. I didn't stay the whole time. I went to college and all that good stuff. But really fortunate to be able to be here with all of you. And I want to introduce my colleagues, Kelly McGinnis and Ashley Dye. Kelly, tell us everyone a little bit about yourself.
I'm the social media and digital content coordinator for Summerfest. I started in January, so I'm fairly new to the company, but I've been a fan for many years, so I think that experience of attending helped me land the job. I also started full-time around in January. I've been with the festival seasonally, events or video production interviews since 2013. So can I see that show of hands one more time for who was there? What was your favorite? Awesome. We're going to do an Oprah here. See hands again. Let's do this side. In the front row.
Yes. Yes, Steve Aoki was incredible.
And one more from the back.
Oh, yeah.
In the black there.
T-Pain, another great show. So the excitement and the chatter and quite candidly the love that everyone feels remembering those moments is exactly the type of thing we want to talk about today. So I know Ashley's going to get us started with how we're going to present today, and truly as we go on, let us know questions that are just burning. I know we're going to run tight on time, so just be sure if you ask your questions as we go.
So there are two phases in our season that we want to talk through how our experiential marketing happens. So the first, we're just trying to create buzz. We don't have certain parts of that phase, we don't have the concrete information out there for you, and then in that phase, the live announcement happens. So there are different ways experiential marketing occurs before the actual experience happens. And then there's how we deliver on it. So in both of these phases, we're inviting our audience to do a really active role. We're directly involving them in what we're doing to get them excited for and to get them to be their fans for what they're going to do at the festival. So in this first phase of creating buzz, there are a couple different ways that we really draw upon in order to make that happen. Here's really rich community that we draw upon. We also do visual campaigns, different things in there. And we announce our lineup, of course. That's one of the ways concrete information comes out. We're actually able to grab on something to be excited about for that year, as well as social media and meeting people in that way.
So because I'm the oldest one up here, because I have a lot of history, I think it's really we're very special in the sense that 51 years ago, actually 56 years ago, a mayor in Milwaukee, and Milwaukee was a city in the Midwest that had a huge manufacturing operation, had a legacy of manufacturing, but also had this really wonderful asset called Lake Michigan that was sitting right along downtown. And so the Mayor Meyer at the time, got a group of leaders together and said, how are we going to create and build a destination around Milwaukee? And therefore Summerfest was born. And the first year it took place on 35 different locations and included a bake sale and a Miss Summerfest contest and Bob Hope. So if you can imagine going back all the way to the late 60s and 68, that's what Summerfest was. And over time, we've evolved into the world's largest music festival with over 700 performances taking place in 11 days. And you think, okay, well music festivals are everywhere. If you can imagine going through and I'll show you going through the 70s, 80s, 90s, and now today, with the rich musical legacy that we've been able to capture through that time, we believe it's a very special American story. So the early years, if everyone can take themselves back to the photographs you've seen, bands like Humboldt Pie, we gathered on this lakefront and developed you got it? Okay. Why don't you slide? Over time, we developed into what would be what we call the main stage, which of course now is much different, but bleachers, and it was a very accessible way for Milwaukeeans to enjoy the summertime, the best of what we had to offer. We have a great brewing history. It became a place where the community coalesced and grew to be what now becomes the world's largest music festival. So in 1987, actually 1986, we were beginning to catch bands on the rise, and in this case, it was Huey Lewis and the News. Does anyone know Huey Lewis and the News? Hopefully, yes, good. Okay, good. More hands, great. Huey Lewis, the album Sports had just hit, and by the time we booked Huey Lewis in February to when he played in July, thousands and thousands and thousands of records sold, fans increased, and it became a dangerous situation to have a GA crowd. So the board of trustees, and in our case, we are a nonprofit organization, which is another rare piece of Summerfest. If you can imagine, a lot of festivals today they're built by large corporations and funded by large corporations. We're a nonprofit that's created to support the city of Milwaukee and drive tourism for us. So the amphitheater was built. Keep going, Hal. We just announced this year, that we're planning to build a new amphitheater in 2020. And the whole point leads to this. I'll read you some of the names here, but the rich musical legacy that is Summerfest, everyone from Tom Petty, Johnny Cash, Blake Shelton, Kanye West, no doubt. We get Michael Bolton in there. Black Keys, the Eagles. I mean, and the multi-genre approach to our festival is what has been the key to our success. To gather this many bands and this much music in such a short time, the multi-genre nature of what we do is really critical. So this is all to say, this is a long-winded point to say, the fact that we have an authentic platform to speak from and generational history is really critical in us building buzz. Because as we look back, in my case, I can remember working there. My parents talk about going there. And people from far away can identify with something that's had so much history and so much legacy around music. So, switching we've got an authentic platform. Switching to how we build around that platform. If you take anything away from today, remember this photograph. When I was studying in your shoes, there's no way that this would be possible. So TV cameras, you can imagine a big band of cameras all pointing at a politician. In today's, we all want to be part of the story. So the fact that everyone turns their back on a potential presidential or a candidate or a potential president and puts themselves in the picture is one of the most critical things that we as marketers need to remember, is that there's an expectation that you're part of the story. So as we began to look at music and knowing how personal music is, how do we begin to switch that story and make sure that every single person that walks in the gates plays a role? We could show you an extensive study about how we landed here, but our primary brand platform is that unforgettable happens at Summerfest. Ask you guys to jump in.
Sure. So this year marked a really notable transition in the visual language of our campaign. If you've seen prior posters, prior brochures, prior web advertisements, what you would see would primarily be pictures of people enjoying themselves with with words overlaid over top. So picture the video that we showed you at the beginning of this presentation, and turn that into static images for printed pieces and digital ads. This year, it's built out of these icons. So our goal was to have this recognizable smile integrated into images like you see in the 50, since it was our 50th edition of Summerfest. So we wanted the art and the colors and the visual language to match the mood of Summerfest, this fun summer idea, which is also speaking to the art being suited to the context. And then this is also really shareable imagery. When you are not unlikely to share an image of a bunch of people at a concert having fun that you don't know, but when we release the alphabet made out of these icons, you can spell out Summerfest. You can put it into the words that you want to share, or share the letter for your name, or just share this 50. So that's very different than what we've done in the past.
So just as an example, you can see on the left was our 2016.
Kelly, stop doing that. Do you want us to separate?
So on the left is our campaign, and you can see that in the background how the Eric shot, and we really stepped away from that. So this year we wanted to go with these the letters that we used. We could really feel Summerfest and the dripping pizza and the Ferris wheel that we have and the records. We're really trying to evoke the feelings and the thoughts you have, the memories you have of Summerfest when you are seeing the ad.
So I think one thing that's important to note about this, I can't tell if I'm on. Am I on? Right. So one thing that's important to note about 2017 versus 16, and a connection to experiential marketing here, is that the symbols that make up each of the letters really allows each person to evoke their own memories and put themselves. They're helping to make meaning for what this ad is saying. Every festival doesn't have all of the elements that you would see when you see the comprehensive alphabet and you see all of these letters together. It really draws you in and asks for you to put yourself into what you're seeing in each of these ads that are each unique.
So in addition to that, we also wanted to make sure we had a campaign that was versatile, because we have a lot of different places we're marketing to. We didn't want to limit ourselves. So, we had to think about what this campaign would look like in print. We have brochures and daily schedules and pocket schedules. We needed it to be adaptable to a variety of different platforms. And that includes digital, which can be very different than print. So we had to make sure that our ads would be standing out against all the clutter of everybody else's digital ads. And right now, you're not seeing a lot of iconography in ads. You're seeing a lot of live action shots, people, live scenes. So our ads really stood out, going back to the basics of this animated typography. The campaign also had to be wearable. We had to think about putting it on hats and merchandise and things that people would want to collect, like shot glasses and pint glasses and, everything. So
we had shot glasses?
I think we did. We should. And we had to think about putting it in artist posters as well. Rather than just having a Naked and Famous poster, you've seen their faces all over the place. We went a little different direction and created these, Naked and Famous interpretation of what that band name means, and posted them around town in hopes that people would be posing in front of them, tearing them down, posting them to Instagram, sharing them with their friends, and we were successful in that.
Let me pause and lean into this a little bit. I mean, this is a great example of how we tried something new in order to invoke emotion and try to get the audience to participate. So if you can imagine, with all the bands that play Summerfest, there's really great groundwork to cover in terms of a poster like this, Naked and Famous, the interpretation of it. But we can't just use the Naked and Famous image and name without them approving. So it took probably, I think, 30 different iterations to take to bands to say, hey, are you interested in this? Because this could be pretty cool to, have your, we call them wilding installations. So next to coffee shops or near bar, areas of entertainment, we would put up these posters with the hope that it would break through and move us to a different place in terms of advertising. We were really excited. I think the first or second day that they were installed, which was just a week before the festival, we saw on social media members of the public taking photos in front of, no, I don't think it was this poster, I think it was a different one, but just that whole idea, the planfulness of that type of campaign, that started, the conversation about this started in January for a week-long execution that happened in June. So it does take a lot of time, in particular in our business, because we've really got to respect and make sure we're bringing along all the entertainment and the bands that we work with.
And the final iteration of what our campaign needed, it needed to be, we needed TV spots, we needed radio spots. So having an ad that was animatable was very beneficial to us, especially in this day and age right now. You don't see very many commercials that are full animation, so we just have a clip of.
Come celebrate the 50th edition of Summerfest, 11 jam-packed days of music. Go to summerfest.com for the full lineup, plus tickets, dates, and more. Summerfest, presented by American Family Insurance.
So having a commercial like that was very versatile to us because even though it wasn't the Summerfest lettering, we were able to introduce this roadie character as we needed to push the campaign forward into TV.
So the lineup announcement, how does the entertainment announcement amp up the excitement? So within the phase of creating buzz, this is one of the pivotal points in our season. So we've got a video here that was released just in advance. So it was released last fall, November 9th, 2016. That's not too far off from where we are now in our process. And I don't know about you, but most people aren't thinking about next summer yet. They're looking forward to or not looking forward to snow coming, things like that. So we're trying to keep ourselves top of mind.
Let me jump in really quickly. For those that aren't familiar with Summerfest, we have a hard ticket venue every night. For those that are unfamiliar with that term, that's a ticket that you would buy to go to a concert at the new arena or at Miller Park or any other venue. It's a hard ticket, so you pay to go to that show. It's not a festival ticket. The festival ticket, in our case, includes 10 other stages, which has bands like Aoki and T-Pain. But the hard ticket is an independent ticket that we start announcing those acts November every year, and then sell those through June. So in this case, in our business, you might think Summerfest is 11 days, but essentially, I'd like to sell you something all year long because we're about to announce concerts. So the reason why the timing of this is important is because it allows us to create a sustained campaign that runs from November through the following July.
We can do this all night. We can do this till the sunrise. I feel better by your side. Lover, won't you stay out all night? We can do this all night. We can do this till the sunrise. I feel better by your side. can do this all night. We can do this till the sunrise. I feel better by your side. Love, I want you to stay all we can do this all night. We can do this till the sunrise.
So that question at the end of "Are you ready?" or "You ready?" Is really speaking to the point of this video, which was to build anticipation in advance of those initial amphitheater announcements, which in this case, Red Hot Chili Peppers and Pink were coming up. So at that point, this is when things are getting really real and concrete for people. This is when they can actually put themselves into the story and make choices like buying tickets or booking a hotel. They can actually begin to actively participate in advance of the event. And one thing that's kind of special about Summerfest is that we have our large ground stage announcement, but we also have 11 different unique opportunities to continue to amp up that excitement and remind people that those choices and those plans can be made now or in a month from now when similar things will start coming out for the 2018 festival. So each of our amphitheater announcements is announced separately, and people have the opportunity to make those plans again.
Go ahead, Kelly.
Oh, okay. So then after those announcements, those 11 announcements have been made, we release the poster on the right, which is our ground stage lineup, and that's at a time when everybody can start sharing, they're retweeting it, they're telling their friends, tagging their friends, and, if we've created buzz enough, our goal is to get this shared as much as possible. And this year, we're very proud. We reached 3.1 million on Facebook and 788,000 people on Twitter, which is our most successful social reach for a lineup yet. So, the power of people sharing this content is very real.
Well, and then the real conversation begins, because I'm sure with some folks that have been to the festival before, this is where the real engagement begins, and we hear all sorts of things. Some really positive, some, oh shoot, I wish my favorite band were playing, and we get a lot of questions about that. But this is our pivotal moment to take advantage of the public's interest in us, and then just really drive it home through the entire festival. Because ultimately, and as we talk about all these things, please keep in mind, from a metric standpoint, from a key performance indicator standpoint, our job is to get people through those doors and to sell tickets. So while we're so excited and elated to get this out, now the real work begins around, okay, let's start selling tickets to the festival.
And it's worth noting that this year we're also very proud that we announced, to help make that reach that we're striving for, we announced this year on Jimmy Kimmel Live. So, with all the people sharing, he helped boost, our reach, which we might not have been able to reach because that was on national television. So,
which it was a new partnership for us, working with ABC and Universal Music. It was great to get the show involved and gain traction that way, and we hope to continue that in the future.
So then our final step in creating buzz is building our social voice. While we're still campaigning and announcing lineups and creating campaigns, we have to be building a distinct voice that people want to engage with. We have to be reputable, and we have to be providing correct information. Some of our key steps to building this brand voice is, as Ashley mentioned, we want to keep Summerfest at the top of mind all year long. Even though we might not have any shows to share, we're posting things like the Summerfest smile in the snow, trying to get you thinking about Summerfest even in the dead of winter and it's, nobody's thinking about summer. We want to give you the facts. We still continue to post content like updates to the grounds and, how the grounds will better serve you in the next year. But in addition to that, we're also a board for questions. People asking us, when's the lineup coming out? When's the lineup coming out? Some of those questions can get mundane to the person behind the scenes answering them, but if you show that, you're not going to be a very engaging brand. People will, get a bad vibe from you. So you have to, insert some humor in that. So, I'm the person answering all the questions. So
if you're wondering, it's Kelly.
It's me.
If anyone's ever wondering, it's Kelly. It's Kelly McGinnis who's behind that curtain.
So when I first started, I was just answering like, oh no, for example, I got the question hundreds of times, when is the lineup coming out? When is the lineup coming out? Can you tell me a date? No, I can't tell you a date or else I would tell you. So, when I first started, it wasn't something, I felt comfortable using humor in, but when I finally, reached my breaking point, rather than snapping at people, you have to, you're a brand, you're representing a company, you have to keep it fun. So I posted things like, when it's ready, as an answer, and that got such great engagement compared to, saying, well, we don't know yet, showing that you're a person behind the company was very beneficial to us. And, I even took it a step further with this Judge Judy gif right here. People kept asking me and asking me and asking me, and a million people sent me this Judge Judy thing saying, hey, when is this, TikTok, we want the lineup. So I just sent it back at them, saying lineup coming this week. And it got 626 likes, 136 retweets, and that did better than any of our content that was, lineup coming soon, nice and vague. So that's very important to building the voice. And the final point was that, we have such a rich history that we focus a lot on remember when. We want you to be thinking about, you have to be there because you don't want to miss these moments like Flavor Flav coming down on, in the crowd. So while keeping all of that in mind, it's very hard because sometimes the internet can be pretty vicious. We're very proud of our lineup and who we're announcing, but sometimes, everybody's opinionated. We get, comments like, oh, who cares that you announced with Jimmy Kimmel, and nobody's going to be breaking any records this year with this lineup, and there's nobody I even care to see. Happy 50th. So people get snarky. We have a regular poster, this guy on the right here, who says his favorite catchphrase is ABC, anything but country. He hates country. He posts it on every single thing we post, whether it's a grounds update or, like anything. It's always there. So go and look for it if you want.
My favorite thing about him is that even when it isn't a country show, it's the least country show you could possibly get. He uses it with somehow a different tone. So it's ABC, anything but country is good job. It's also ABC, anything but country, you guys suck. Like it's the same phrase regardless.
Yep, so then, it can be mean, but it also can be very funny. Just to set the scene on this Twitter post right here.
No one needs to swear, we can all read.
I guess they should have blurred out that second cursor too.
Yes, we should have. Full forgiveness, please.
So to set the scene, we're all, waiting up till 11 o'clock midnight, waiting to see our spot on Jimmy Kimmel, and the lineup is finally out there, and we're excited. Bands are retweeting, and the first comment we get from a person is, "Mother effing Toto, I bless the rains down in Africa." And I don't know, it was just like, to this day, it's a year later, we're still talking about that one entertaining tweet. So, it pays off to be a fun brand that people want to say fun things and know that they'll be retweeted. And as you can see, there's that ABC, anything but country, that was posted on a country amphitheater artist that this person was very excited about, but he still used his phrase.
And in terms of where this goes, I think as we think about music and as we continue to invest in how we work with artists, in the past, writing a letter to your favorite artist was like writing a letter to Santa Claus. I mean, it was just like, hey, North Pole, we'll get there. As we're now, the level of engagement, friends of ours who covered Pink, she retweeted some of the reviews, and she was just absolutely magnificent in terms of her engagement with the festival, and just a true professional and a true performer. in terms of just engaging with what we had going on. And so it's more real than ever, which for me provides such a level of an excitement around the real experience. And you may say, well, you can see it online, or you can read about it the next day. But I think that only enhances the importance of being there, and how we inspire that action to get off your couch and come down and enjoy the festival.
So we all love talking about bands and the fun stuff too, but we also need to talk about new opportunities, which may not seem as jazzy, considering you get a press release like The Right, but you still need to share that information. Press release only goes out to so many people, the ones who are watching news, but a lot of our target demographic right now is on the internet, so we have to do a good job of taking this, like all this information, and digesting it, putting it on social media, and still having, it resonate. So you have to, turn the content into something fun. And sometimes it's marketing something that doesn't exist yet. Like this year we had a new, a VIP area called Level Up. We didn't have any photos, we didn't have any, it's brand new. So it was something we had to really try and work hard to sell to our audience to maintain that buzz, even though, it wasn't a thing yet. So, and then
Ashley, yeah. So before we move on to talking about in-festival, does anybody have any questions about creating buzz, about how we use history, about how we use social? Go ahead.
How do you guys look at different
So the question is, how do we take into consideration opinions? How do we choose bands? Is that correct? So that's a little bit outside the purview of us. We work within the marketing department. We have an entirely separate entertainment department, and it's their job to collect emerging talent, headliners who can sell out an amphitheater. So that might be I'm not sure if I can necessarily answer that, but we do take into account that the feedback that's provided on social media. That does make its way to other departments, and they take a look at that. It might not necessarily. You can ask for an artist for years, and they may not be touring. They may be conflicted. So we try our best to play to what people are interested in, but it might not always be possible just because it's requested.
I mean, from a marketing standpoint, surveys, we do quite a few surveys, obviously this is social channels. There is, with extensive, there's extensive tools within the entertainment industry. Oh, sorry, hello. In order to make sure that we're capturing the broad nature of our lineup is really one of the keys to our success. So while you may not be into reggae, there's a fair amount of audience that is. So and some of these, I'm not suggesting you might not like reggae, but some of these, what's really important about it is it's the whole thing put together and the full scope of work. So from a survey standpoint, we survey once a year, but then we also do periodic surveys. So it can be a whole host of things. Entertainment would spend a long time telling you how they book, but it's also years of experience.
And I think we can do one more question before moving on, and we'll do questions again at the end.
You're going to have to talk really loud.
Sure. So, I mean, how do we foster a creative environment when some of our employees might not be creative in nature? So that's a good point to bring up, especially in relation to Summerfest, because we have, within the marketing department, I think we're all pretty much creative types. Entertainment gets that as well, but we have in-house our own accounting department. We have IT department. We have all of that in addition to creative fields and graphic design and all of that. So one way, and that connects back to what was said in the GMR presentation. We do have, I think, a space that fosters creativity. We've got music quotes on the walls. We've got guitars hanging that are signed. My favorite and slightly the bane of my existence is our doors leading into the office that say, the door will say push or it'll say pull. Ours say push it real good. Somehow I always end up pulling it anyway, probably distracted by the quote, but I think little pieces of comedy like that, or just reminding you, even with the walls in the conference rooms, that you are moving, that you do work in a creative field, even if your role is not necessarily creative, is one way that we do that.
I would also offer, it's pretty rare to find someone that isn't passionate about music they like. So we're very fortunate to work in an environment where music is so present, and it's, like I said, it's pretty rare not to get someone talking about a concert they saw, a piece of music they like, a musician they love, and then it's amazing how the creativity can go from there. Great question.
So moving on, we've now built the buzz. So how do we then move into the next stage? So we're a little short on time, so I'm actually going to have a skip over this video here. That was a little video promoting Level Up, the new VIP space that Kelly talked about. So there's three primary ways that we're going to talk about and how experiential marketing is used during the actual festival. So social, again, actually giving out prizes during the festival as well as streaming. And that's kind of, might seem like a tenuous connection at first, but there's definitely a connection to the experience in terms of streaming.
So first up is social engagement again. During the festival, we can't just stop answering questions because we've been, priming you to be engaged with us the whole time. So even though we're now in festival mode, the questions come in, more than ever. On our first opening day, it was a very rainy, thunderstormy day. We got over 400 questions just about the weather alone. Whether you can bring in umbrellas, are shows canceled, is it raining there? You have to be on top of answering those questions because every single one of those people, you want to make the experience as easy and seamless for them coming down because each one of those people could be a ticket sold. So if we're not engaging with those people, it's a loss for us. Let's see. We also, as I mentioned, we have to keep content going. Some people want to see stuff like, Pink flying in the amphitheater, but then we also have to be thinking of the people, since we're an 11-day festival, not everybody has arrived. So we still have to be talking about best ways to get here and, what the admission promotion is for the day. So we still have to be posting timely content. And in doing that, we're narrowing down what our audience actually wants. It can be sort of a trial and error of figuring out what is engaging to your audience, but it's going to be worth it in the end when you start seeing exactly what they're looking for and you see them engaging with you. All of the content that we're posting is well and good, but they also want to see the moments that we might not be able to capture, such as, it's good for us to be engaging with others as well. So we've got content like Steve Aoki. We couldn't have gotten a photo like that ourselves with the limited amount of staff, but it's still awesome to share with our followers. We wouldn't have been in Pink's dressing room with her daughter, but she posted about us and we're monitoring that, making sure we're sharing content that's relevant to our audience. And if you're doing all of this stuff like, posting what's relevant and, answering questions, being engaged, you will see a lot of social growth, which is what we saw this year. We saw great numbers in our growth. 14% on Facebook, 45% on Twitter, and 226 on Instagram. So then, just as an example of that growth, we posted an EDM video featuring Steve Aoki and Flume, and to date, it's our most successful video yet. So I just wanted to.
what's amazing about that is was that a 48-hour turn?
Yep.
So, I mean, if you think about running and trying to engage the audience to come back to Summerfest, the tight turn on these things it can be really exhausting. So I think Josh and team were up probably 24 hours working on that, so we could post on social just before the next half of the festival.
So prizes are a really unique opportunity for our brand to engage one-on-one. I'm going to click to the next one, Kelly. To engage one-on-one with people and to make a meaningful connection while they're present. So we use that to upgrade people's experience. It's really just about us going into the crowd with wristbands, for example. We have a front row space. For example, people were really excited about the front row Miller space that was new this year. So we would just go through the crowd and hand out wristbands, just surprise people with this. Maybe they were all the way back. They didn't have the chance to camp out all day to get the front row seats. So we'd hand out wristbands and just kind of make people's day. It's a really unique opportunity for a brand to, you're already at the experience, you already are going to have a great time, and to just make that connection with someone one-on-one and make their experience even better. Fan for Life was something that we did unique to the 50th edition of Summerfest, where we gave out lifetime passes to Summerfest. So everyone coming in the gate got a ticket, and depending on the symbol on the back of your ticket, it was either a ticket to admission for next year's Summerfest or various other prizes, and a few of them were this Fan for Life pass. So this was a really successful engagement with 10,000 people showed up to 30,000 tickets were given away, and 10,000 people were actually present within one stage footprint at one time, waiting to find out whether they were one of the winners of one of these lifetime passes. So a face-to-face interaction in terms of getting them the ticket in their hand, but also this lifetime memory associated with our experience.
Let me jump in. So Fan for Life is a really good example of being fluid. We had intended to do Fan for Life the opening day, but it started to rain and rain and rain and rain. And we recognized that the crowd that we could attract on a rainy day was not going to be as significant as that we could potentially do another day. We also know that in our business, there's days that are very successful despite the nature that they're a Friday or a Saturday, and there's softer days that we do other things to try to build a crowd. So when we talked about, and keep in mind, this is opening day, so there's a few things going on. The festival's opening. It's raining, which, quite frankly, after planning the 50th for a year, was just very difficult as a team for us to work through, because you build so much into the opening day, and then it's like, oh, it rained, so you're working through all that, and then we get to a point where it's like, are we going to take this huge promotion? We've never offered a lifetime pass in the history of the festival, and are we going to offer it on a rainy day? We said no. And then all of a sudden, we turned on a dime and moved everything to the last day. So when you think about, well, that's 10 days away, but we hadn't printed tickets, we hadn't done rules, and we really took a risk in order to try to build excitement towards the end of the festival. So my point is that sometimes even the best laid plans in the live entertainment business, you need to be ready to go and switch everything up and make sure that it maximizes your financial opportunity.
The last thing I'll say is about streaming. And while it might not seem like the most live marketing or experiential marketing, it's really about getting people who are really interested in being present, but maybe there are factors that are preventing that time or distance, or they're actually at another show. Sarah and I were talking about, she watched... she was at Big Sean and watched DNCE live streaming. So you're at one show, you're live streaming another. So it really expands the audience in the definition of what it means to be present at a live event for an audience. And I think we're at time here.
Tessa, are we done?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll want to cut off here, but if we've done all of this successfully, other brands want to associate with us. We've really marketed the live experience of Summerfest by engaging people in one-on-one ways, engaging them on social in ways that are about those individual interactions, as Kelly mentioned as well.
So thank you so much, especially if we ran over. Thank you so much for your attention and your time, and thank you all for coming to Summerfest. Anyone that hasn't been there, We'll see you in 2018.